Welcome to the She Means Business Show, where our mission is to activate your confidence, amplify your voice, and help you align to your power. Today, I am so honored and excited to introduce you to this powerhouse female entrepreneur. Not only am I so honored to say she was our November cover, she has also made a tremendous impact on my life without probably even knowing it. But welcome to the show, the one and only talk show bestie, Rachel McCord.
Oh my goodness. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored and excited to be here.
Well, you have accomplished so much in your media empire. I'm going to read your bio because I want to make sure you're in the spotlight. The seats are turned around this time. But Rachel McCord, the woman behind the McCord List Media Network, named a Bloomberg female founder and featured in Forbes, Vogue, WWD, and entrepreneur, Rachel McCord is a powerhouse in entertainment and media. She has shared stages with icons like Michelle Obama, Tyra Banks, and Dr. Phil, and interviewed stars including Kristen Cavallari, Dixie D'Amelio, and the Bella Twins. With over 1 million followers in a nationally syndicated morning show reaching 40 plus million households, Rachel knows how to build a platform that moves culture forward. In 2013, she founded the McCord List as a community to empower women in fashion, entertainment, and entrepreneurship. Over the years, it evolved into a trusted voice in media. Today, that original mission has expanded into a bold new era, the McCord List Media Network, a platform designed to amplify stories that shape culture and inspire change. Now, Rachel is equipping a new generation of creators with the tools, production support, and national visibility they need to build shows that spark real impact. From high-level coaching to full-scale production and syndication across Roku, Amazon, Samsung, Entrepreneur, and Apple TV, she's making sure no meaningful message gets left behind.
So much for
Welcome to the
having me.
show. I'm so honored.
I'm so honored. I'm excited, and it's so special to be on one of your covers. Oh my goodness, I'm so honored.
Well, thank you for responding to my DM in your Instagram. What a that was a life-changing moment for me. Not only have I had the honor to be on your show, I've gotten to know you personally, and you really have impacted me more than you possibly know in a short amount of time. So thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. You are such a beautiful human from the inside out, and you have such a huge purpose in this life. And it's really incredible to see how you've allowed such vulnerability with your story to impact so many people, because it would have been enough for you just to like pull yourself back up, to sometimes just get out of bed at times, right? But as a mother, as an entrepreneur, you did so much more than that, and you continue to inspire so many people and share their stories. It is such an honor to be in your world.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's talk about your inspiration and take us back to the beginning and even how your childhood inspired you to this amazing media empire you've created.
Well, thank you so much. I'm actually writing my second book right now, and it's been this beautiful season of kind of going back into some of those moments, a lot of hard moments, but also some sweet, sensitive ones, and just kind of like recalling those stories has really helped me, I think, like continue to see just honestly God's hand in my life. But I have had such a wild ride. I grew up in really humble beginnings in Georgia. So I am the youngest of three girls. We were a family of five living on 20 grand a year, living in trailer parks. And I remember at Christmas, we would all like put each of our names in a hat, like all five of us, and we would each get $1 and the change for the tax to go to the dollar store and get one Christmas present for each other. So I just remember those humble beginnings and how it really inspires me, I think, every day to do what I do and to do it the way that I get to do it with an incredible team, and just feeling so empowered because as a little girl going through a lot of trauma, like of all shades of abuse, like you start to kind of quiet yourself, I think, a lot, because being seen and heard could have ramifications that would cause harm. So I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to really like lay under the radar. I know that you can relate with some of the things I'm sharing, and many of us at home as well. And so I would just be so quiet. And I think that from the beginning, there was just like almost like like spiritually like an attack on my voice. And so it's very sweet when I look at those stories and then I see myself starting to work at 13 and kind of going through all these things. And then, of course, in 2013, founding the McCord List, and it being my second company. But it's all about helping women specifically find their voice, share their voice, build platforms, and grow. And, it's interesting because I think, you hear a lot of people talk about collaboration over competition, right? But I've noticed, like for myself, just working in this industry for so long, prior to the Me Too movement, there was really not a lot of interest in what we were saying from a female empowerment side. And then, that kind of changed once people started to realize it was important for them to have that voice in media, to be that kind message. But I've seen a lot of us struggle with that side of like, what does it really mean to collaborate and not to compete? And I think that has been one of the things that I'm so grateful for, like looking at the community that we've built with the McCord List, like the creators, authors, entrepreneurs, coaches, thought leaders who all make up this community that we have. It's really this beautiful, inspirational space where people get to literally come into my studio. I'm in the green room right now, but like come into our studio and share their message and their story, interview incredible people, collaborate with these incredible humans who have epic platforms and are really able to grow and expand. And, I think that like, so many of us get so scared because we feel like maybe we're coming from an experience of lack. Maybe we grew up in lack or we live in lack. We exist from that perspective. And so when we get into these moments, we can sometimes forget what it really means to collaborate. But for me, it's been very important to be a big part of the message and the heartbeat of the McCord List, that you literally feel like you're in the South every time you come to an event and we're pouring you a sweet tea and giving you a big hug. It's like, I want people to feel like they're at home with us.
Your studio is such a home and a magical place. Even when I was there, I made a new friend waiting for my interview. So it's amazing the magic that happens there, and it takes a very special person to be able to create that for others. So you said something interesting. I want to talk. I know a big part of my journey was releasing shame I was holding on to that I felt like was my fault, and overcoming that to really step into my voice as well. Was that something you felt, or was there a moment where you really, that was memorable of you stepping into your voice?
Yes, what a beautiful question. And I can totally relate. I absolutely have struggled. That's probably been maybe one of the longest running wounds that I've had, to really face. And I think a lot of it comes into, like if you've been through trauma at, you know, that level, there can be kind of just this feeling like my innocence was stolen from me, and like I'm not who I was created to be. It's almost like this cloud moves in, and then from that belief system you can kind of keep operating. And for some people, I know that like they either commit to that, right? Like they go charge ahead and you can kind of see like all the wildness that comes, or you have people who kind of just like try to play by all the rules. And I'm kind of more, I play like more the latter. I just wanted to do all the right things and get everything right. And it put tremendous pressure on me as a human. But to be honest, like, the reason why I think it works in the physical world and this like wild economy that we live in is that when you start working at 13 years old, and then by 16 you're in management, 18 you're offered your own location, and then you're one of the youngest employees at the largest PEO, and then you're in Times Square with the big jumbotron with your face and name on it. It's like people pat you on the back for all of that. So it's almost like I was racing to get to the next thing, but I didn't really care emotionally about where it was. I was just desperately trying to prove to myself that I was worthy of love, that I was enough, and if I could bring enough value to everyone around me, then I could like earn my way at a table. And I think there was just a point in my personal journey where I was just like, I'd rather build my own table than to like work so hard to like earn the right for someone else. And then once I build that table, I'd like to introduce other people to that who feel like they don't belong, who feel insecure and down and discouraged, and they feel like they need to claw for everything that they have, right? It's like that's not what we're created for. And I think it pulls us out of our purpose. Like if we allow, like you have to kind of picture it, I guess, in like the spiritual versus the physical sense. Like physically you're hungry and you're so hungry, and then you're like, you don't want to see me hungry, like a Snickers commercial, right? Like you when your body is craving something, whether it's like the success of being in Times Square on a jumbotron, or the pat on the back that, oh, you did it, you got on the cover of this, you got this big show, or whatever it is, you can kind of become insatiable with that because it is never enough. But I feel like in order to actually move into your purpose, you almost have to lovingly tell that little friend to sit down. And then you need to look within at your spirit and be like, but like, what am I really here for? Why am I on this planet? And I think that like, if we haven't tapped into a deeper why, that's not about the things we love to do, like as far as like, oh, I love to like be on camera, like that's beautiful and fun and absolutely it's great. But it's like, what are we really doing for humanity? Like, how am I using my platform to sit down in front of someone and hold space for their story, to love them where they're at, to acknowledge them, to value them, and to share a message of hope and encouragement? Sometimes when I'm doing my show, the McCord List today, people will be sharing their story and I'll be so moved, and I'll just be like praying for them, like, God, thank you for making this person, like thank you that they've survived what they've survived, thank you for how they're using their message in the world. And we talk about like, oh, you can live this long without food, this long without water, this long without air, but you can't live it all without hope. And so I think that if we can just be mindful of the hope that we're sharing in the world, and anytime that our egos and the journey of this life, the flesh, the physical side, gets like punched in the face or kicked in the gut, and you're like, oh my gosh, you feel that like emotionally, right? Like when someone tells you you're not enough, or I'm talking like holistic, like figuratively, like having these experiences, you can start to really like let that sit in, or you can just say, you know what? That's actually trying to pull me out of really what I'm here for. And so if I let myself get too distracted on the things that are bugging me, then you get really sideswiped. Yesterday it was so funny. I had someone like do a comment on one of my posts on social media, and it was like talking about, they literally said to me like, I heard you had a nose job, so let me know who it was so that I can avoid that doctor. Like how rude. And so I literally took a screenshot and I put it on my story, and I was like, hey, I just want you to know, I actually didn't get a nose job. Like, but you must be like feeling pretty sad. If this is like, if you're deciding to go out and cyber bully people, you must be feeling pretty like, are you okay? Like genuinely, like what's going on for you? Because I think for people who are the most judgmental, they experience the most judgment of themselves of all. So I think that we too easily allow traffic and insults and rudeness and even abuse and trauma to distract us. But we're actually called to such a bigger purpose. So we cannot let that take hold, because if it does, it's almost like the difference in anger and bitterness. Like one is a momentary experience, the other erodes parts of your life.
Amazing. So much there. I saw where you posted that comment, and your response was the most powerful thing I think I've ever seen, because I know I had my own fears with showing up on social media and with visibility, you know, overall. And I think so many women fear visibility in that sense of rejection or the things that you just experienced. And to have the courage and strength to respond the way you did was unbelievable. And, I hope more women can have that self-worth and confidence to respond like you do when it happens, because I do think, unfortunately, it's a little inevitable. I know it's happened to me as well.
It's absolutely inevitable, unfortunately. But I also think that by being real about it, it
Hmm.
almost, like you just highlighted, Ashley, like it gives people a reminder. You don't have to wait until everything is together for you to kind of dial in, right? Like you don't have to wait until like, oh, like I need to be so perfect, I need this, because no matter what, people are always going to shake. Like that person was actually like DMing like tons of like insults. That was just the only one that I decided to like address. But I look at it and I think, the more that I'm real about the fact that no matter what you're doing, like, and by the way, what's funny is like multiple episodes of our show came out yesterday, And we're like speaking one of them, she's an incredible author of over 7 workbooks to help people. She's like amazing, just graduating college, but she's already done so much helping people who struggle with mental health. So it just felt like such a God wink that on the same day that we would be releasing those episodes, that you're seeing a message like this and you're being reminded that this is what we're facing, right? Like we can't just look at statistics around mental health and suicide and be like, this is so sad. Like, we actually need to look at some of the causes and we need to hold people accountable, but in a loving way, right? Like, you don't need to get all angry and then like fight back, but it's almost like, hey, like, let's look within, because I'm actually more concerned about the person behind that hidden Instagram handle who doesn't want to show their face and doesn't have a name. Like, what would it, how differently would it look if someone who has that type of time would actually choose to build a brand and be a voice of light and put their name and their picture out, and instead of like cyberbullying on people's comments and DMs, they used all that energy and time and did engagement strategies. They could build something for themselves and actually live a life that's of love and light and actually purpose fulfilled in their own life. So I think that we've been in this weird cancel culture that almost like tells us we shouldn't speak up when something's wrong, but we actually need to speak up when there's like a violation of something. You see it with human rights, right? All around the world, these awful stories, and people are afraid to like or share or comment because they don't want to be canceled. But you know, you have to almost get to a point where you realize that your time on this planet is very precious, and if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. And I believe that we all have a platform, whether it's 10 people in our living room or it's 10 million on social media, 100 million, like, we have these opportunities to speak love and light, and we need to do it in a way that's filled with grace and not with judgment, because the person who does that to another person, something happened, because that human came into this earth as a perfect little baby who only knew how to love and be loved. So what happened to that person along the way that created that bitterness that started to erode their life? And what will it take for someone to acknowledge it and hear a cry for help and actually love them through it and hold space and be like, I forgive you, because there's nothing you can do to me, because I'm not here trying to serve you. I'm not even like, I have a pretty massive network, and my job isn't even fully to serve them. My job is to like look up and to make sure that I'm aligned with who God created me to be. And out of that doing, out of working to make sure that I'm holding myself at a standard that I feel good about, then all of my actions get into alignment with that. And when they don't, I can apologize and I can make things better and I can do better next time. But I think we live in this world where it's like, oh, do not make a mistake, you'll get canceled. Do not do that. I'm like, what are we talking? Where do all these canceled people go? These are human beings. We need to find love. And we also need to help people lovingly as a culture rise up. We have to say, you know what? I'm not going to stand in a society that allows cyberbullying, especially not to children. I'm not going to sit by when children are being bullied in schools and they're being, I'm not going to sit by silently. I'm just not going to do that. So I think when we start to find those things that matter and we get lit about them, we get passionate, that's where change happens.
This was yesterday. I was doing some inner reflection and I came across something that said self-worth is your net worth. And instead of looking outside of you and how much money I make, or, all of those things that come along with it, self-worth, not as an ego-driven um, thought, but as what your purpose is here to shine that into the world and to dive as deep into yourself and your purpose as you do to chase money or these external things that we think make us worthy. It's the opposite way. So I feel like that's what you're saying. And I just applaud you for what you did and how you handled that, because things like that hold so many women back. And for you to put it out there, because I'm sure people might look at you and be like, oh, well, she has this and her empire is this and she has this network and she's doing all these amazing things. She doesn't experience things like that. So to make it real and to be an example is so amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for it, because I think, two things I've learned, because I've worked in entertainment for a really long time. One is that it's always a good sign when people start hating, because that means people are paying attention. If the only people who see what you're doing is your mom, then, she's probably not going to cyberbully, right? So in some cases, it's like, get out there and push, doing what you love to do, what you're created to do. And when you get haters, be like, oh, good. It's getting into new territory. We're taking on new territory. And the second thing is to just move past it and learn from it. Like I always say, like, and I literally wrote in my first book, I talked about this. Like I've learned my most from my haters because I've had people, obviously not in a scenario where they're talking about my nose. Like I'm not getting a nose job, so thanks. But like, like a conversation about like, oh, this is like so dumb and this is so vain and the audio sucks. Like I'm gonna be like, okay, ignore the first two things, but there's a problem with my audio. Let's fix it, right? So I think that you can actually, if you detach and decouple from that kick in the gut that you feel. I felt it yesterday. Of course, it sucks. But guess what? When I got done with like crafting my response and then sharing it, I got not only tons of support from my friends, which was so sweet, and people on social, but then I came and I talked to my son and I was like, guess what, Jude? Someone just made fun of mommy. And I started laughing about it because I told Rick, I was like, the thing is that there might come a point in Jude's life where he experiences someone saying something really mean to him. And I want him to learn that that does not mean that it changes who you are or what you can believe about yourself. I just think that like we allow fear to just cripple us. And one of the big pieces of my book that I'm writing right now is about starving fear and feeding faith. And you cannot let fear be that overweight kitty purring in the corner like, oh, this is so good, let me just keep on being afraid. And just like you can't do that. You actually need to say, you know what, I'm sorry, but like I'm not feeding you. I am feeding faith. I'm going to continue to charge ahead. I know that I'm called for more than this, and I know that God directs my footsteps, and I know that nothing can happen to me that doesn't pass by his hands. So whether it's like for me, like a cyberbully is like so like dumb because I like it's just obviously it's stupid, right? But like that's just but what's not dumb is the fact that people are getting hit by that and they are maybe not rooted themselves in that confidence, in that self-worth to be able to push it back and to have that like almost that like confidence to say, no, you don't get to talk to me like that, but I love you and I'll sit down. If you want to stop kicking me, I'll sit down and talk to you any day, right? Like I feel like if they're not in that place, then we have to all help people do that. Like it's my job to empower my son to be a warrior, to be a lion, not a sheep. I don't want my son to hear something mean that's said about him or to him and then curl up. Like I want him to see a mom who says, okay, well, you're entitled to your opinion and you don't have to like my nose. Good news is I'm married and I'm happily married and I'm with my husband and he likes my nose and he likes my hair and my ugly bun when I'm like messy coming from home from the studio, and he gets to see the ugliest parts of me, right? Like I've learned how to build that resistance and that resilience because I've had to. When I first moved to Hollywood, people like creamed me in press. Like it was me and my sisters always in the tabloids. And I mean, it was just like awful, like all the things. And so in the beginning, I really struggled. And then I learned you never read Daily Mail comments. You never read like Reddit comments. There's certain comments you just don't want to touch because it's just going to be scathing. But you learn these things. But as you do, you also toughen up because I'm a very sensitive person by nature. And I think that that helps me as a leader, as a human, as a friend, like to be sensitive to the needs of others is what I think we're all called to be. But we cannot allow the offenses of this world to cause us to put up these walls and this glass that we don't know how to get our way out of and to close up our hearts. Like we're called to open up our hearts and to live authentically, to love truthfully, and to seek God and to connect with him because out of that, the fullness of your life actually is revealed.
Whew, so much there. But, hats off to you for being this authentic woman in business, really talking about the things that do happen and being so vulnerable and open about them so you can, be a light for others. If you had to turn, because so much resilience you have, handled with so much grace, what would be your number one tip for someone that either is afraid of visibility or like is at the very beginning of that step to step into that, or resilience as well as this kind of overlap?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I mean, it's such a multi-layered question too, because I think that there are practical tools and tips to help you like do that, right? Like to go into a studio. Like for me, I don't like to go into the studio and film without getting my hair done, to be honest. Like it makes me feel pretty. I like to have outfits that I feel confident in, even if I've got a little bun and no makeup on. Like fashion has always been my escape. Even when I was living in trailer parks, I go to Goodwill and I take things and like mess them up and shift them around to make myself kind of escape to this little style world. So I have loved all of those things on a practical side, but I really think that what you're talking about in for me personally has been a spiritual journey, because I don't think that we can sustain without getting burnt out if we're not aligned spiritually, right? Think about it. How often do you feed your body? How often do you like give yourself water and food? But how often are you feeding your spirit? And for me personally, I read over 1,000 self-help books starting when I was 12 years old. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in therapy. I really tried everything from like a self-help side of like puffing myself up. And I felt a lot of self-help, but I didn't find a lot of self-heal. And I just couldn't get there. And I had honestly like one Jesus encounter and I was transformed. So I'm always going to personally go to the side of getting in alignment with God, because when you find that beautiful space where you can kind of fall apart and find one who can catch you, everything else changes. Because I live boldly, because I actually believe that every door I have been that's been open to me has come from God, every good and perfect gift, and he's closed doors that weren't for me, and that's been God's protection where it's felt like man's rejection. So I just don't live in that same economy anymore. And it's very unique because in entertainment that's very incongruent with this life, right? Like because you can, like growing up in Georgia, that's like at the Bible Belt of the United States. So, you know, you can throw a rock and be like, oh yeah, where do you go to church and whatever. But for me, like, it's so like my relationship with God is like so tangible. Like I feel it like a heartbeat. And I needed it because I fell apart when I found out I needed to have open heart surgery. My son was 3 years old. I was climbing this ladder and I could look back and I couldn't even remember these clients and partners and projects I had done. And I was like, where did all this time go? Like all I would think about was like the moments I've had with my husband and my son, you know, the beautiful conversations with my mom and my sisters, like the precious things that I could hold on to. And so I looked back at all that and I was like, whoa, is this it? Like they're about to stop my heartbeat in 2 weeks. And I really don't know if I'm going to be one of the 4 out of 5 people who survive this surgery or if I'm not. Like, I don't know. That's a very scary situation. And so I believe that when we talk about like starving fear and feeding faith, what we're really talking about is really stepping into something more. It's about saying, you know what, I'm going to close my eyes and let my heart lead me to where I was called to be. I'm going to do what I was called to do. And so I think when you're operating like that, you do not get lost in the fear of hitting record. You don't get stuck in the fear of hitting post. You don't feel the concern of the insecurities that come up when people say that they don't like what you said, or it's dumb, or we've already heard that, or the client cancels, or the job falls through, right? Like when you're actually decoupled from things that are like physical and you're fully spiritually like connected, then you still face the heartbreak. You still cry your eyes out, but you know who to cry to. Like for me, like when I'm facing devastating fear that like feels like the end of my actual physical life, or financially I've faced major hurdles and didn't have the money on the day I needed it and felt that stress that was completely debilitating, like I've learned now to get on my knees and what songs to play and how to pour my heart out, and I've seen miracles. So I can't unsee that, and I really just pray that for everyone. So when we talk about what is your purpose and why do you do it against all odds, against all bullies, against all hate and shame, like the reason we do it is because we have to. Because there's someone out there right now who's sitting in the floor of her closet like I was, with a handful of pills in her hand like I did, and she might not have her husband walk in and stop her, but she needs to hear a message of hope, because we cannot survive without it. So that is what I'm here for. And it's okay if I have to like bang my head through walls that hurt, and I get darts thrown at me by mean people who just need to feel loved themselves, right? Like it's okay if I can take that on, because I have one that I can take those wounds to, and I know he can heal me. But I absolutely will not sit back while I'm on this planet and waste another heartbeat climbing the Rachel ladder and trying to make myself like a better person so I could deserve love. I'm already fully loved. I could never be more loved than I am right now by my creator. And that is like the absolute anchor that I've taken and put at the foot of the cross, and everything else flows from that. And while my network is this beautiful inspirational message. You know, some people have a similar faith journey to me. Some people don't. Like we honor people's journeys all across the board. For me, I found my journey and I could not be happier. And I'm literally on this mission to help people feel empowered, to help them feel loved, to help them put their voice out there. Because I don't think that any person should be afraid to say something because it's already been said. There's somebody better. There's someone with a bigger platform. There's someone who looks better, sounds better, has more, or has been through less. It doesn't matter. You're the only person with these fingerprints, with this heartbeat, and with this mouth, and you've got to use it as long as you have it.
Mic drop. This is so beautiful.
I love you. Thank you.
Amazing. You
It's
are
my
so
heart.
one of a kind. And what would you tell little Rachel now?
Ah, I would tell her it's going to be okay. Because as I've been writing this book, I've not shared this before, but I remember being really little and hearing this booming, scary voice of someone in my family from downstairs and like shuddering. And I think about that a lot because, you know, the nervous system like starts to kind of like come for you if you don't get it corrected. And I think that's been one of my big health struggles personally, like trying to unwind and rewire that. So I'm sorry. I wish that I could hug her and just let her know it's going to be okay. Because it's a long road.
Well, she grew up
From
and
that
did
girl.
great things.
Yeah. But it is it was a long, depressing road. And I wanted to pull the chute like all the time. You know, I got really good at being depressed. I got really good at it. Too good at it. Nobody knew. I hid it well. And so, yeah, I want her to know that I would fight for her. That's kind of what yesterday was about with that cyberbully, actually. It was about me learning to fight for her in a way that fit with who I want to be today. And, you know, fighting doesn't have to come with fire. Sometimes we fight by sitting on the ground like Jesus did when the woman who had been caught in the act of adultery, and in that time it would have been an offense punishable by death. She was brought to him with all of these religious leaders, and they were holding stones in their hands. And they explained the situation to Jesus and said, Moses' law would say that this should happen. What do you say? And they were probably trying to trap him. But he got in the dirt, and I imagine that he did that because I'm guessing that's probably where she was. And he just started drawing in the dirt. And then when he did speak, he said, he who was without sin cast the first stone. And I realized that if the one blameless one among us doesn't judge, who am I to do that? Even when the offense feels great, scripture says, do not be easily offended. So I think there's always a path to a enlightened way, a higher consciousness, a higher way of being. And we're always invited into that. In fact, there's a whole beautiful book called the Bible that guides me through it. And, you know, I'm like, oh, that would have been helpful yesterday when I acted a fool. You know, like I'm always learning, I'm always growing, and I'm always apologizing. But I think that humility is important, right? But I think about how that little girl didn't really have anyone defending and protecting her. And I don't allow much space for the victim space because I couldn't really afford to be quite frank. But I actually called my sister on Tuesday night and was crying because I'd heard this country song. It's always the country songs that get you. They are just, it was Settle for a Slowdown. And I asked my sister, like, were we just that easy to hurt? You know? Like, was it that easy just to like hurt us. And I think that if you can't hold space for those vulnerable feelings, then you haven't quite healed, right? And so I allowed the space for it. But it comes in waves, right? Like you do an interview and you cry, like, and pray your mascara doesn't make you look like a raccoon. Like, you know, you have to deal with life as it comes and in the seasons that you're ready for it, in the moments. And I think the hardest emotion to face towards someone who has traumatized or, you know, horribly abused you is grief. Is grief from losing that person and for what could have been had they been who they were created to be, and what it would have looked like to be loved the way that I came to this earth probably expecting and hoping to be loved. And it's a tough one every time you spin it. It's just a tough one, because there's no happy ending to lose someone who's still alive, who you love. It's not a happy ending. Sometimes it's a necessary ending, but it's not a happy one. And with that, you find the grace, because grace has been given to you immeasurably so. And that's what holds me together, truthfully, is that, you know, I can find forgiveness that doesn't make sense because I also need forgiveness that doesn't make sense. And I want God to forgive me the way that I've forgiven others. I need to make sure that I'm showing that forgiveness. So it's almost like you realize that all of the guidance that you're invited into by living a life at a different pace, maybe than others around you. Because I can tell my story and people be like, oh, honey, never forgive, never, you know. And society would tell me that I was justified in that, but my faith wouldn't. And I don't want to live by society. I tell my son every time, he's like, what they were doing, I was like, but you're set apart. I'm set apart. We're invited to be set apart. And so with that, we can live differently. We can find forgiveness when it's easier to find fault. And then we can cry about it, and we can blast country music on repeat until we've healed through that song. Kelly Clarkson has been like one of those for me. Oh my goodness. You know, the one where she's talking about like by the sidewalk. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is me, right? Why I stay so close to the sidewalk. But you know, isn't that the beauty of life? Like I'm so tired and over the whole, like, let's be perfect before we put ourselves out there. Let's be perfect before we do the show, before we write the book. No, write the book with the errors. Write it with the grammar issues that come up. Do your best. Go for excellence, but do it anyway. Do it before it's ready. Done is better than perfect. So when we talk about the practical tips, like, those are practical tips. But it's a lot easier to do the practical tips when you start from within. And reading over 1,000 self-help books, I read a lot of stuff that told me how I should act to be enough. And I started doing it. And guess what? It kind of worked when it comes to like looking great and appearing to be all these things. But on the inside, it was like Swiss cheese. There were like all these major gaps. And what I really needed was actually something from within that was bigger than the trauma, bigger than the devastation, bigger than the depression, the suicidal ideations. I needed something that was more. And now, as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, like, that's how I want to spend my time. So I continue to evolve my products and my business and my network and my platform, because I want to do this. I want to have conversations like this all day. I don't want to have shallow, pointless conversations. I want to go so deep your ears pop. Like, I want you to like share that inner part of your soul and to feel loved and seen and valued and accepted exactly as you are, with tears down your cheeks, with people around you with stones. And I want to be the person sitting next to you in Jesus saying, can I give you a hug? It's going to be okay. That's who I want to be with my heartbeats.
And you are, when you were telling that story, it's like, what an amazing story of turning your pain into purpose, because I know that's how I felt. It's like, if I had to put that into words, it's like sitting down next to you and it's this unspoken, it's going to be okay. Tell your story, speak up. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for speaking life into a lot of incredible women who do mean business and need to be known that that's okay, that they can do it. They have what it takes to be able to pick up a book like this and skim through stories of incredible humans who have something to share with the world, something that matters, something that's cost them, something that they've worked really hard for. Like, thank you for doing that because you could have just survived. You could have just gotten a job, you could have just fed your babies and yourself. You could have just picked it up off the floor. But you've done more and you're speaking life into hundreds and thousands of women because you're willing to answer the call. And sometimes it's going to hurt. Sometimes you're going to bang your head through a wall, but maybe that wall needed to come down.
Right. Sometimes the walls do need to come down.
Sometimes they do, and sometimes it hurts, but then it feels a lot better when they're gone.
What's next for you?
I'm very excited about this book. I really am. I feel like it's the only book really was meant to write. Like it feels like my heart really pouring out and I'm having the best time doing it. It's flying by a lot faster than I had planned because it's really I pray before and I just give all that I have. I feel like it's like I want this to be, if this is the last book I write, then I want it to be everything. And, maybe there will be more, but I think when you have faced like a life-threatening condition and surgery, you start to value life so much differently. I don't take one heartbeat for granted. And I remember when I was going into surgery and I was thinking, there's still so much more I want to do and say. Like, once I was able to process the fear of potentially not getting to see my 3-year-old son again or my husband on this side of heaven, like there was like on an emotional front, I was like, I want to help more people. Like there's still more people. And so I actually really feel like this is the book that I really want people to have when they're in the midst of despair, because it's the stuff that's really helped me. So that's really exciting. We have a bunch of new shows launching in January on the McCord list, which is exciting. The platform is on Amazon, Apple TV, Samsung, and Roku, which is just a huge honor. We're also working with some amazing distributors to get our shows wider, which is how my talk show got syndicated. So, we're just continuing to charge ahead and tell stories that I feel like are important to be shared with practical advice that really help you. I love doing the McCord list today. We have some amazing shows like the Drama Diet, Redefining Possible, God Hacks. I know we have some fun stuff coming up with you, so I'm excited to be able to get closer into that. So it's a huge it's a huge honor, and I love it. I love it. Yesterday I was sitting in the studio with Ruth Klein from the book club, and I was just sitting with her and I was just like, you're doing it. She's like, what can I do better? And I was like, just keep doing this. Just keep showing up consistently because you're already doing it. So I can't believe this is what I get to do. I feel like all the years, the relationships, my family being in entertainment, like it's all led to this incredible community of epic people, quite frankly, who have like tremendous resources and platforms and like want to see these messages out there, and they're sharing them, they're pitching them, they're getting distribution. We have like award-winning producers come on and coach with our host and give them advice, and it's just like really, I feel really giddy. If I wasn't like not into paint, I'd be like, oh, let me pinch myself, but like I'm just enjoying the fact that I get to do this, and this is like, yeah, it's just a blessing.
You are a blessing. And now we're going to put you in the hot seat. Are you ready?
Girl, I'm ready. I'm here for it.
First of all, what's your zodiac?
Oh my gosh. I'm October 27th, so I think it's a Scorpio. That's what I'm told. I don't really follow that, but that's what I'm told.
I think that might be what it is too. And then what is something that's always in your purse?
Always in my purse. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. I don't really carry a purse, so I pretty much only have my phone, keys, and wallet.
Hey, can't live without those. Um, what is you can't live without self-care routine?
Oh, worship, honestly. Gotta do that. Gotta do that. It's my happy place.
Yes, for sure. And is there a personal development tool? I know you've mentioned the Bible or a favorite podcast or book. that you would
Yes.
recommend?
Yes. I've already mentioned all those, so I will add in The Slight Edge. I read that book and got rocked because it's all about just adding 10%. If you feel like you can do 25 lifts with that muscle, like do 26 or do 30, just do a little bit more. And I really like that thinking.
That is that John Olson?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah,
will
yeah. I
say,
read
or
that.
maybe
It's a
Jeff.
great book.
That's hilarious. Look at us.
Of course. And let's see, what else do I want to ask you? How can we stay in touch with you? How do we get more of you? How do we watch all your amazing shows on your network? Tell us.
Yes, what a great question. So, my whole world is on the McCordlist.com. When it comes to the platform, we're just introducing like our community, like coaching side, where even if you're not ready to do a show yet, you just want to get some coaching, we're doing that in a group setting, which I really love. So we're introducing that. So really just the McCordlist.com, or you can email me and my team. It's Rachel at rachelmccord.com, and we'll get to it and would love to help you and see what your dreams are and how we can put them out in the world.
Amazing. And when does your book come out?
My goal is to have it come out on my heart surgery anniversary, March 14th, 2026. So, as long as I hit all my benchmarks, that's the goal. So, we'll see.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your beautiful story, your beautiful light, for sharing so much with us. I know today the audience definitely heard something that helped activate their confidence, amplify their voice, and align to their power. See you next time.